Hi everyone, and welcome to batch 207 in the freeze dryer. I have 4 different types of Progresso soups. Here is the lentil with roasted vegetable, and you can see here this line is where, because I don't pre-freeze in a freezer where the trays are kept level, I freeze, and in this case it was 6 hours. I pre-froze, which I didn't need that long, but I left the house. I had some errands to run. And then once the 2 cans of soup is on the tray and frozen, I go ahead and open the door and spin the tray around because it's all frozen, but it's frozen at an angle. And then I will put the 3rd can of soup on there, and you can just see how it just feels from the front and then runs back there. And that's on this one, that line is there. And here, it's right there. And yep, way all the way up here for that one. So this is the lentil with roasted vegetables, and this is 3 19-ounce cans. All of the soups this time are Progresso. They were last time as well. This time they're all vegetarian, which they were last time as well. We have a vegetarian in the family, and, well, 2 of them actually. I mean, anybody could eat this soup, but I know I've said this before, if I have to feed somebody, I want to feed them the way they're accustomed to eating for as long as possible. So if I can make that possible, that's what I'll do. Next, this is the vegetarian vegetable. Now, I did notice on this one especially maybe, look how far it shrunk away from the side of the tray pan. This is how that one did. The next one, the vegetarian vegetable with barley, really didn't shrink away from the sides too much. That's a little interesting. And then we have the 4th tray, was 3 cans of 18-ounce creamy mushroom, and it shrunk away from the tray pretty a lot. Alrighty, so last night I wanted to get this done. I wasn't able to because I had to get a lot of videos and things off my phone. I moved, like, I don't know, I have a 120 gigabyte card in my phone that had pictures and movies on it, and it's almost empty now. And they're now on my laptop, and now my laptop is slow. I've got to get them off my laptop and onto the external hard drive that my husband got me. But he got me a 500 gigabyte hard drive, and I have over 500 gigabytes of pictures and movies. So, yeah. It's not a good thing, right? But anyway, sorry about that. I always do that. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to be more on point. So let me show you the notes for this batch. So this says right here that it's batch 207. That's the date I started it. I don't remember the time. I'm pretty sure it was 1:45, 12:45. But it doesn't really matter. That's just mostly for my records. I used to keep track of the time I started it and the time I finished it, and I don't do that anymore because it's not really necessary. I usually do still write down the time it started. So this batch here was, you can see where I have it, was all vegetarian soups, 3 cans per shelf. It was a 9-hour freeze and a 24-hour dry cycle. Now, if you recall, I said that I let it pre-freeze for 6 hours and add the 3rd can. The last batch pre-froze for 4 hours, and then I added the last can. But this 9-hour freeze does not include this 6-hour freeze. So I let it freeze for 6 hours and then told the freeze dryer, hey, I need you to start this brand new cycle. And I did that after I added my 3rd can. So this shows you exactly what I put on each tray. And I skip spaces because a lot of times I like to put the amount of the weight after it was freeze-dried. I just really like to see the comparison of how light it gets. Now, if I don't have time, I don't bother. Or like in the case of the pineapple up here, it didn't really matter because I measured them by the cups when I took them out. And that's a different video. That's batch 205. I could link it, I suppose, but alrighty, so let's see. Here I have the cost. This was $12, as was the last batch. This is what I find extremely interesting. Now, you know I add freeze-dry time. This is the current batch, 207. This is the last batch. Well, duh, that's 206. But it was all Progresso vegetarian soups. And even though I added so much time, I added 141 hours, guys, but I told you before, if I have something else to do, I am not going to break down my kitchen to do freeze-drying, bagging up. And I don't have the space near the freeze dryer anymore to do that. I could make that, but before I bring this food out, I wipe everything down. I sanitize not the entire kitchen, but everywhere that I'm going to be using those. So if I have family over, or if I have shopping to do, or shopping to put away, or something like that, I'm just going to add time. I don't run to the beck and call of my freeze dryer. It's my tool. I'm not its tool. Anyway, okay. That's why I told my husband I need a second freeze dryer. And he said, yeah, if you'd stop adding time, you wouldn't. But anyway, so that actually only needed a total of 64 hours dry time, freeze and dry time. Now, I also mentioned before that because I add an exceptionally long dry cycle, 24 hours, it actually needed less time because it could have been done in 12, so it could have needed 12 less. So don't think my times would be your times. I add time, but I always show you what it would have taken. However, you also have to take into consideration that I'm doing a 9-hour freeze and a 24-hour dry. And some people, once they have pre-frozen their food, they knock time considerably off of that freeze time if they've frozen it in their regular refrigerator freezer to keep things moving along quickly. I don't move quickly. All right, so that needed 64 hours, and this is what I wanted to show you. This time, the freeze dryer only ran for 111 hours and 15 minutes. 47 hours and 20 minutes was added time. So this load needed 63 hours and 55 minutes. So basically so they both needed pretty much exactly the same amount of time. So that is that for that. And then I'm going to pack these up the same way I did the other. Each of these half-gallon bags are going to get a half a can of soup. These a half a can of soup, and that bag will get the full can of soup. So that way there's always a mix. If you have a very hungry person, like, I don't know, my husband or one of my sons, sometimes even my grandson, I'll just grab that whole bag and give it to him. If somebody's just a little bit hungry, or if it's a little child, like my grandson, they'll get the half one. And sometimes when my husband takes these things to work, he just wants something small. He doesn't want, something big to weigh him down at work. And so that's how those will all be packed up. And for me, I stopped writing vegetarian, and so my new symbol for vegetarian is a V in a circle. And sometimes I even abbreviate vegetables with all the tables. I just put veggies. Writing all those out can get time consuming. But, oh, by the way, I found the best marker to write on my Mylar is this king size Sharpie. Well, the king size doesn't matter, but they even have one that's slightly better. It's called an industrial. Sharpie. It's for writing on oil. So this is pretty much all I use is a Sharpie. And if you can get the industrial ones, and it's not industrial size, this is just a king size, it's the one that writes on oil. I like those best. So I know I don't do taste tests, but I can definitely show you. I love when this happens. Look at that. And then you can see how easy that's going to be to clean. I don't feel like this vegetarian vegetable one will pick up that easily. Yeah, it's not moving. But a lot of the time, if you just see what I'm just taking that, and it's lifting right up. So it's, there you go. That's how that lifts up. I did this with applesauce and told my grandson, here's your applesauce candy bar. But anyway, that's how they'll all do, and I'm going to get to weighing them because I think I mentioned in yesterday's video, today is Organize My Food Storage Day. Alrighty guys, thanks for watching, and let me know what you prepped today. Be blessed, everyone.